Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
A long time ago, I did a morning radio show where I was the sidekick. And a story like this, if it had crossed our wire back then, we would have had a field day with it. And the weird part about this is it's not a funny story in that sense, but it's so crazy that it makes you wonder. And a lot of people sent this to me. Thank you very much. From CNN, but widely reported, Dacia Johnson wrote this. Man dies after a surgeon allegedly removes wrong organ at a Florida hospital, according to a lawyer. The lawyer for a woman whose husband died at a Florida hospital says the surgeon removed the wrong organ. The couple was visiting the rental property when the 70-year-old husband began experiencing left-sided flank pain. His flank hurt. He went to a hospital where doctors decided to remove his spleen. Instead, his liver was removed. Now, those are two different organs. They have different functions. It's kind of like you bring your car in and say, hey, it needs to have a new water pump. And instead, you tear it apart and you replace the camshaft. Difference here, though, is that you can die from the wrong organ being removed. Your engine won't die from having the wrong parts replaced. During this operation, the doctor removed the man's liver, and in so doing, transected the major vasculature supplying the liver, causing immediate and catastrophic blood loss, resulting in death. The surgeon proceeded with labeling the removed liver specimen as a spleen, and it wasn't until following the death that it was identified that the organ removed was actually the man's liver, as opposed to the spleen. Now, here's the thing, and this is one of those things, I've had this discussion with people before, is that we've all seen diagrams of the human body. Oh, that's the heart, those are the lungs, there's the intestines, there's the gonculator. You know what these things look like on a diagram. But inside your body, they're not quite as clear, and they're not labeled like they are in the game of operation. And so, now don't get me wrong, a doctor should clearly be able to tell a spleen from liver. Among other things, they're in different places. But I believe they're different sizes, too. However, you really got to wonder. The surgeon then allegedly told the man's wife that the spleen was so diseased that it was 4 times bigger than usual and had migrated to the other side of her husband's body. It's weird. It was over where the liver should be. Where's the liver? Oh, maybe it migrated to our pathology lab? I don't know. Body parts and organs migrating. I suppose if winter's coming, right? The family was informed. I understand it has different meanings, okay? I'm trying to lighten this thing up a little bit. The family was informed that the man's spleen, the root of his original symptom profile, was still in his body and appeared with a small cyst on its surface. So they later confirmed, yeah, it turns out that's the liver on the shelf, and his spleen is still in there where it was when we went in to get it, and we just simply took out the wrong organ. The man's wife is seeking criminal and civil proceedings and said, my husband died while helpless on the operating table. Remember, the man was 70 years old. I don't want anyone else to die due to his incompetence at a hospital that should have known or knew he had previously made drastic, life-altering surgical mistakes. So I don't know if they have knowledge or evidence that he's made other mistakes. And it's interesting because as a general surgeon and a chief medical officer, but I'm wondering how many people were at the side of that table when the operation was taking place. Because is there really just one surgeon and nobody else? Now, I understand there might be an anesthesiologist up at one end or a nurse over here handing tools or instruments, but is it really just one person? Because you would think that if we're going in to get a fairly common organ, i.e. the spleen, and suddenly we're playing around with the liver, which is in a different spot and 4 times as large, at least in this case, you would think somebody would say, hey, doc, are we here for the spleen or the liver? Because every now and then, people sometimes have brain misfires. And I've also talked about, I think on this show, but I remember reading stories where somebody goes into the hospital and for whatever reason they need to have their left leg removed. Their left leg, like say right at the knee, their left leg. And they wake up and they still got a left leg and their right leg is gone. You go, excuse me, where'd my right leg go? Oh, we removed it. Well, you're supposed to do the left leg. Oops. And that kind of thing happens not every day, but often enough to make the news where you're like, what? And so I've talked to people who have gone to the hospital to have surgery done. And the surgeon will walk in with several other people and bring a magic marker and say, okay, we're just confirming this now. We're doing the surgery on your left leg. That is the leg. We're doing the left leg. And a friend of mine told me they drew on his leg arrows going, this leg, which sounds funny until you realize, if they didn't do that, there's a small chance they might operate on the wrong leg. Now, my friend wasn't having his leg amputated. He was having surgery done. But again, you'd rather have it done on the right leg, the correct leg, and not the wrong leg, okay? So there appears to be no excuse for this. Because let's assume that your body parts do migrate in there. And your liver migrated to the wrong side of your body, or your spleen migrated to the wrong side of your body. You would think that somebody would go, hey, this is weird. Have you ever seen a spleen over here before? And somebody look at that and go, well, that's not the spleen. That's the liver. Spleen's still over here. But if you really honestly thought it had migrated over and gotten 4 times as large, I think you'd call in somebody else to take a double check on that. And so you need to know that medical malpractice, and I don't talk about it a whole lot on my channel, but medical malpractice in the last 20 or 30 years has evolved to the point where many states have passed laws protecting doctors. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that doctors should be sued in frivolous lawsuits, but they've made it difficult even for people who've got good lawsuits to make it anywhere. And so you have to prove not just that the doctor made a mistake, but you've got to prove the doctor made a mistake of the kind that an average doctor in that community would not make without some level of and then they'll put in what the measure is of what kind of negligence it takes. And so if another doctor is willing to come in and say, hey, that could be done by anybody, that could be a mistake done by anybody, it might not rise to the level of malpractice. In this case, I'm pretty sure it will, but I'm just pointing that out. And so malpractice, by the way, will vary wildly from state to state. Okay, so don't even worry about that issue. But here what we're talking about is a doctor who's supposed to go in and remove a spleen. He removes the liver and the guy dies. And the doctor, according to the lawsuit, told the wife, I removed his spleen, but it was in the wrong place and really, really big. And then later, the hospital goes, oh, it turns out, no, that's his liver. His spleen is still in there. Didn't get it, but he is now deceased. So, crazy story. But everyone sent it. Thanks a lot. From CNN, Dacia Johnson wrote that. Man dies after surgeon removed wrong organ at Florida hospital. They filed a lawsuit, but they also are asking for criminal charges to be investigated. And I don't think that's as crazy as an idea as some people might think. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. If you are going to try cross-country running, start with a small country.